Hi, everybody. Nice to see you or see your names if you're not showing your video. Um, my name is Julie Solar, and I am the producer, host, and creator of a live true personal storytelling show in the Bay Area called Story Slam Oakland. I have been producing live shows for 9 years in the Bay Area, and when COVID hit, I switched to a lot of online shows, and I've been teaching workshops in storytelling. And I'm very pleased to present to you this evening a showcase of the OLLI True Personal Storytelling class. And for those of you who don't know, OLLI stands for the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at SF State. This one happens to be at SF State, but there are OLLIs at colleges and universities all over. And so we have done, I guess, 6 weeks of instruction online in which each of the people that you are going to hear tonight have created a short oral story that's not something that they wrote down and memorized word for word. It's a story specifically designed to give in public, either on a stage, at a dinner party, or in a public forum like this. So I am very pleased about the results of the class. The students all really dug deep. There's some humor, there's some vulnerability, there's some life-changing moments. And what I really am struck by these stories is that this is a cohort because Ollie is a lifelong learning, meaning seniors. So this is a cohort of students who have lived long and interesting lives. And specifically, these happen to be women students. And so what you're going to hear today are some really powerful perspectives about women, about their lives. And I hope that it will be interesting and uplifting for you, and that you'll get a lot out of hearing these stories. And if you are inspired by any of the storytellers and you are interested in taking a similar class where you craft a true personal story, then Kathy will put the Ollie email in the chat, and you can email her. She's the administrator for the school. You can email her and tell her, I would be interested in taking this online course in the future. Ollie at sfsu.edu. That is in the chat window. And if you can't see the chat window, it's OLLI at sfsu.edu. So, all right. So each of these stories is short, between 5 and 8 minutes long, and we are going to go ahead and everybody is muted except for the storytellers. Excellent. You guys are. Let me just go ahead and if you're not muted, just please mute yourself, so that if there's any background noise, it doesn't get interrupted. Huh. Doesn't look like I have the ability to mute people, but that's okay.
No, but I do, and I'll be watching.
Okay,
But
great.
right now, the only people unmuted are a couple of the storytellers. And
Okay, great. So, our first storyteller is going by the pseudonym Shirley. And if you want to view her on speaker view, she will be big in your screen. So go ahead and click on speaker view, and you will see our first storyteller of the evening, Shirley.
Thank you. You see, the thing is, I was born in chaos, like ginormous, big, burlesque, showy, confusing cocktail party chaos. And I never fit in. It was very confusing because I was this chubby little kid with glasses and a book, and I wanted to read and be quiet. And they were loving each other and fighting and drinking and dancing and singing. it was so chaotic. I used to say to my father, Daddy, put that bottle away. Let's go sit down. Let's go into the living room. Let's go into the dining room. Let's eat dinner. Like, leave it to Beaver and talk about current events. And he would hang his head and say, okay. But they really didn't. The chaos was there, and the music and the partying and the drinking and the fighting. So I would go downstairs into my basement, my books and all my little world down there. And I had this feeling, and I never could get the words, but I didn't fit. How is this my life? So, okay, I grow up and I move out when I'm pretty young, and I fall in love. Oh, his name was Saul. And these big brown chocolate warm eyes, and he fell in love with me, and he was kind of a tough guy, Russian, Cossack even. He liked his vodka, but I said, oh, that's okay. You know, I understand vodka. That's okay. And he had a big leather jacket, and oh, we just fell in so much love. And I loved his parents, these darling Russian people. They didn't speak any English, but they were also Pentecostal. So to be nice to the mama, I had a babushka and dadushka. I would go to the Pentecostal church sometimes with them, and for Easter morning as a gift to the mama. And I would listen to them talk in the sermons, but I didn't understand it because they were rolling around on the floor trying to get the Holy Spirit. And I wasn't sure if they were talking in Russian or if they were talking in tongues, and he was drinking vodka. And I pulled back one day and I said, how is this my life? How is this my life? So we had this special needs child, and I said, no, I'm leaving. So I left. He was kind of mad. He was pretty darn mad, actually. So he never sent me child support, but that's okay. I went on. I kept going. And within 6 months, you won't believe this, I meet Benny. Oh, now this is a guy. He's got these light green eyes and this mop of curly hair. Was he cute? Oh boy, Latin, and he could charm and talk, and oh, he was a cutie. And he was really good to my special needs daughter. And he always had allergies. He had this terrible sniffing problem. So I would buy him cold medicines because he sniffed a lot, and he was a used car salesman. And then one day he wasn't home, and I was cleaning out my car, and I found these little bags of powdery substance all tucked behind like my gas pedal and my steering wheel and on the floor. And I said, I wonder what this is. These little bags of white powdery things. So I didn't know. So I flushed them all down the toilet. And later on, when he came home, he said, hey, where's that stuff I had some stuff hiding in your car. And I said, I didn't know what it was. So I flushed it down the toilet. Apparently, doing that, I flushed down $3,000 worth of cocaine. So his sniffing wasn't because he had allergies. Oh, okay. And I sat back again. And I said, how is this my life? How is this my life? So I packed up my daughter and we took off. And in doing that, I soon found out he was mad. So he left $20,000 tax lien on my property. But me being me, I said, well, I'm just going to go forward and keep on going. And I took a little bit of time off from marriage. And a few years later, quite a few years later, I meet George. Now, George isn't good looking. He's this tiny, wrinkly man with these little beady eyes, but he's powerful, and he's interesting, and he's well read, and I fall in love and I marry him. And he likes vodka too, but I thought, I've dealt with that before. And I moved in on him. And he had been a bachelor for 35 years in his own apartment. And boy, that was not the best thing I could have done with my life. And so I started making a list of all the things I didn't like about that place. And I came up and grew this list to be about 65 things. And I make lists when I'm trying to figure out the chaos, and I'm organizing that chaos, I guess. And so I would read these to my girlfriends, number 22, number 45, 63. And the favorite one that my girlfriends just say, here's the one this is my deal breaker. Oh, number 23, the deal breaker. And number 23 was, I called it Dry Towel Saturday, because he would issue me 2 dry towels on Saturday because he didn't have laundry in his building. And so the rest of the week, my towels were a little bit soggy because I lived in San Francisco and it was kind of like soggy towels that I would use all week. And one day I said to myself, how is this my life?
Mm.
So, I said, I can't. No, how is this my life? But, I didn't have to worry about child support and there was no tax liens to leave on my property. And a good thing happened because I got his Safeway card. And in getting a Safeway card, I get 20 cents off a gallon off my gas to this day.
Mm.
So he offered me the cure. I've been cured. I still love men, but I don't think I want to be married. And I kind of live by myself. I started living alone. And one day I was sitting in my chair and I was reading and it was really quiet. And I had this feeling, this soft feeling in my stomach and my jaws weren't clenched. And I wasn't shaking. And I said, what is this feeling? I don't know. Is this peace? Is this what people have been talking about? Peace? Huh? All those years of chaos and never fitting in. This is my life. This is it. All right. I've come to the place of my life. So recently, without even knowing what happened, I meet someone that is so beautiful and we're so compatible. His name is Peter. And he has these root beer colored eyes and he loves to hike and he loves all the TV shows that I like. We are so perfect for each other. And Peter is my dog.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Shirley. All right. Next up, I am proud to present Jenny Severin. Jenny, let me spotlight you. Okay.
Thank you, Julie. My story begins in Nebraska on a hospital bed. I was lying on the hospital bed in pre-op because I was just being rushed in after being diagnosed with cancer 2 weeks earlier to have a mastectomy. I'd been diagnosed by my obstetrician because I was happily pregnant with our second child. So I'm lying on this bed, obviously still in shock, sad, scared, whatever. And my two sisters and my mom are standing around the bed. My little 2-year-old son and my husband were at home together. And we got to talking and they were trying to cheer me up as much as they could. And finally we got onto this book that had just been published and I had read called The Handmaid's Tale. And we, for the life of us, could not remember who wrote The Handmaid's Tale. So the nurse comes out and whisks me into surgery. And an hour and a half later, the recovery nurse comes to the waiting room and my sisters and mom are there. And she said, well, are you Jenny's relatives? And they said, yes, how's she doing? And they said, well, she's fine. She came through surgery beautifully. And do you have any idea who Margaret Atwood is? They started cracking up and laughing. And of course, the poor bewildered recovery nurse had to go back in and just say, this family is nuts. They're crazy. So that was the first journey of my cancer journey. That was the first step of my cancer journey. So then my surgery was on a Friday. On Monday, I got a call from the oncologist who said, you have a really high chance of recurring cancer. And you have to have some treatment. And because of that treatment, I suggest and highly recommend that you have an abortion or terminate the pregnancy. Well, this was a hard decision for us. We were happily pregnant with the second child. I'd had several miscarriages before. We wanted the baby, but we really got to thinking about it. I wanted to live. I had a 2-year-old son, and I wanted to have the best chance I could possibly have to live. And so did the rest of my family all across the country. They all agreed. So because we had moved to Nebraska, my insurance had changed and I was under an insurance company that required that I get an okay or a recommendation to have any kind of surgery that was outside the norm. So I had to call this GP who I'd never met. I'd only been to the obstetrician because we'd only been there for a year. And I had to call this GP and I sort of blurted out on the phone to the receptionist, I'm sorry, but I'm Jenny and I'm one of his patients and I have to have an abortion because I have cancer and blah, blah, blah. And the receptionist just sort of blubbered on the phone and he's never going to do that. He's never going to do that. No, he's never going to do that. I went, what? I'm like, what? I mean, what? So, okay, well, whatever. So I hung up the phone and we started looking at alternatives for the termination. This is on Monday. On Friday, we finally scheduled an appointment with a doctor in Nebraska that had been performing abortions and been protested, but he said, sure, I'll take this on. I'll do your case. But we still hadn't had approval, so my insurance wasn't going to pay for it, or so I thought. I know better now, but so I thought. So the procedure itself was going to be between $5,000 and $7,000, and we were a young couple. We were struggling still. I just started my professional career. We were struggling, and I was kind of ticked off too, because I had every right. I had every right to choose what I needed to do for my own health and my own family. So long story short, it was a Monday that I got the diagnosis and called the doctor. By Friday, we had scheduled our appointment to have this termination done. I also had an appointment Friday morning with a surgeon to have the tube pulled out of my chest, which was draining, as many of you know. So my sister drove me to the medical building and was going to let me off at the door because I was still pretty weak from surgery. And I looked over, and standing by the elevators inside the door was the doctor. And to this day, I still call him Demon Doctor. I don't remember his name at all. And my sister said, go talk to him, go talk to him. I said, I can't. And she goes, go. I said, okay. So I get out of the car, I run in there, he's standing by the elevator. I said, Demon Doctor, I'm Jenny, and I'm gonna have the termination of this pregnancy this afternoon. I need you to approve it. And he looked at me and he sputtered and backed up. He said, no. And he marched away. He wouldn't even get in the elevator with me. My sister came in at that moment, grabbed me, put me in the elevator, and I just lost it. I mean, I'd had it. I was so sad and just in shock, and I just didn't even know what to do. And she just held on to me. We rode the elevator up to the surgeon's office. He pulled out the drain, which kind of makes this sucking sound like, Flip! And we walked out of the surgeon's office, and the nurse said, she said, Demon Doctor wants to talk to you. And I said, I can't, because I've been crying for an hour by then. And my sister said, yes, you're going to do it. So we walked down to his office, down the stairs, and they ushered us right away into an exam room. And you know how exam rooms are set up with the patient table there, the exam table there, and then the long counter next to it. Well, there are two chairs, one at the end of the exam table and one at the end of the exam, the bench there, or the countertop. And then he was like at the front. So my sister and I sat down from each other, and I'm still crying. I'm not like hysterical by then, but I'm still crying. And he marches in, he sits at the head of the exam table. He said, well, before I approve this, I need to talk to a priest, I need to talk to a medical ethicist, and I need to talk to an obstetric oncologist. I just looked at him. Tears are streaming down my face. I just said, okay, that's fine. But you also need to talk to my family, who are all across the country, who think that I should do this so that I can have every chance I can get to live. Mm. And I said, secondly, if it was your wife, don't you think that she should have the choice of what she should do for her own medical care? And he said, yes. And he jumps up and he marches out and slams the door behind us. Mm. So I'm still a mess. My sister's a mess. And she takes me down, puts me in the car, takes me to the hospital where they're ready to do the procedure. And the nurse is giving me IV Valium in my arm. Mm. He says, if you need any more of this, just let me know. I know you've had a really bad morning. Mm. Thank you. And I thank Margaret Atwood as well for giving me the courage to stand up for myself, give my sisters and my family a great deal of thanks for them standing up for me. I'm just so happy that I did this, because hopefully no one will ever be in that position as a young pregnant woman. Thank you.
Great job, Jenny.
Oh, that was amazing, Jenny. You did so many different things in this version that you didn't even do in the last class. Wow, you really pulled out all the stops, Jenny. This is fabulous. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
But you helped. You were my major director.
Thank you. What a powerful story. Yeah. Wow. All right. Now for a palate cleanser. It's always nice to have a little variety in a storytelling show. And for our next performer storyteller, I present to you Heather.
Thank you. It was an unusually cold day in June, and I was camping with my friend Olga at Standish Hickey, which is a state park that's in Northern California, nestled in the redwoods. And we had come there to swim because it just has this amazing swimming hole. I mean, the water is so clean and fresh, and there's a lot of room to swim. It's a deep green, mossy kind of water, and it's surrounded by these granite cliffs where people sometimes dive off of and fed by a waterfall. And usually people are there, but it was very cold. And, you know, I just personally, I love to swim. In fact, I was with a group of friends one time, and we were discussing what would we do if we had like 20 minutes or an hour till the end of the world. And first thing out of my mouth is, I would go swimming. And so I was really looking forward to it, even though it was kind of cold. And also because I was just feeling a little less confident than usual about being seen in public. So I was kind of glad that there weren't that many people there. You know, it just seemed like, well, things weren't where they were supposed to be anymore. You know, I was in my 60s, and they certainly weren't where I remembered them being. I mean, let's face it, the girls were women now, you know, and oh my goodness. And lately, you know, people have been calling me ma'am all the time. And people would say, oh, you look good for your age, right? So I was like, I don't know if I want to take this out and have everybody see me swimming, but, you know, and it was new for me too, because when I was younger, I was in my 20s at the University of Delaware, and I lived out on a farmhouse that we called Frogtown, and it was secluded. It was in the woods, and there was maybe 10 or 20 people that lived there. And we didn't worry about whether we were dressed or not. We were young, we were vital, we really enjoyed just being young and free. And even through my 40s and 50s, I often went to clothing optional places like Harbin Hot Springs and Wilbur Hot Springs, and I didn't pay any attention to it. I felt really good. But now, I don't know. Anyway, you know, we had walked down, we were going to go swimming because that's why we came. And we had walked down this long hill to this expansive sandy beach. And we were standing there in our utilitarian swimsuits, you know, the kind you get at Costco, the one-piece ones that are built to last. And also not to be noticed. You know, they're not that attractive really, but they hide everything. And we had these swimming caps on, made of neoprene material, which is the same thing that rubber suits are made of. And that's because my friend Olga is super practical, and she had brought these because she said that they kept us about 5 degrees warmer when it was cold. You know, and Olga was a very conservative and practical person. She was of Scandinavian descent, and she'd moved from the Midwest to California. And she was always wearing these turtlenecks and dressing in Ann Taylor clothes. And, you know, just the kind of, she was just that kind of person. A lot of fun, but conservative. And we'd walk down to the beach, and there we are standing in our swimsuits with our swimming caps on. And it's so cold, no one else is there. And she says to me, we should go skinny dipping. I look over. I mean, I've known this woman a long time. You know, we're nutritionists together. And this was just not something that I recognized about her personality. But I thought, if Olga can do it, well, so could I, right? And there's nobody there anyway. So we strip off our swimsuits, but we're keeping our swim caps on because it is kind of cold.
Yeah.
She just rushes into the water, and as I'm watching her go, I'm thinking, she's a lot older than I am, but she looks a lot better. She hasn't had a baby, exercised a lot more, but she's not looking at me anyway. I figured, well, I kind of approached the water gingerly because it was cold. But then I thought, well, I'm naked. I better jump in. So I jump in, and it's like so cold. It makes everything stand up a little bit. But, but then it's invigorating. Water feels like velvet. And I'm swimming out to the cliffs because the swimming hole is huge. And, I'm relaxed and I'm just enjoying myself. Both of us are. And I'm floating on my back, looking up at the clouds and totally oblivious to everything going on. So we're doing this for a while when I happened to glance back at shore. And apparently a whole group of yoga people had come down to the shore a little bit left of where we were swimming and set up their yoga mats. And, they look great. The men had these man buns and the women were wearing these capri kind of yoga pants and everything was really tight. And they started doing yoga. Okay. So we're swimming, we're kind of far away. All they can see is our caps, a bunch of middle-aged women. And, but it's starting to get colder. And I think, well, they'll leave soon, right? Well, they don't. They're still there. And, we just can't take it anymore. We're going to have to get out. And so I think, well, we'll just, make a run for it. And I started swimming towards shore. And the towels and swimsuits were like a mirage. They just seem to be getting further and further away. So, but when we get close to shore, I think, well, I'm just going to jump out of the water because maybe they won't notice us while they're doing downward dogs. So I catapult myself out of the water and hit the beach. And just at that moment, the entire group turns and looks at us. There's this silence. And then they stand up and applaud. And I just thought, I just put my head up high and I decided to nonchalantly stroll over to my towel. And for that glorious moment, I felt young and free.
Oh, great job. Wow, everybody is just pulling out all the stops tonight. That was amazing, Heather. You really put the spin on that one. That was great. What a great rendition of that story. Awesome. So fun. Such a great slice of life. All right. So our next storyteller is a little different from everybody else so far in that her camera doesn't work, okay? So she is going to tell a wonderful story, but it is going to be like listening to a radio show or a podcast. So you're not going to actually see Bree give the story, but you'll hear her very well. And so I encourage you all to open up your ears. You can close your eyes and just listen. You can put it on gallery view if you want to observe the other audience members, but Bree is going to tell you a fabulous story, but she's going to be not on video. So take it away, Bree.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Julie. So I'm going downstairs to do my laundry, and the laundry room, the light center's hasn't been working for almost a year. So it takes about 5-6 seconds for the light to come on. But I've done this a million times, and I just, in the dark, reach my basket out to put it on top of the washing machine, and oh wait, there's something there. And at that moment, the light comes on, and I find myself face to face with this 2-foot-high, very fat, white, plush cat. Ears up, whiskers, soft black eyes, sweet mouth, cat. So I put my laundry basket down on the dryer next to it, and then I noticed there's a note peeking out underneath the cat. And the note says from one of the tenants in the building, "We're moving, please, would someone please give our cat a home?" Well, interestingly, I own a pet sitting business and I specialize in cat care. So cats are a huge part of my life. And I love cats. Now, having said this, I also have to say that I live in a very small 1-bedroom apartment. No storage, seems like every space is taken. And again, I'm looking at this 2-foot-high cat. So I get the laundry going and I'm about to leave the laundry room and I do a double take. I stop, I look at the cat and a feeling comes over me and I say to the cat, "I will give you a home." And I grab the cat by its front paw and it's dangling to my side and I leave the room and I walk up, start up the 50 stairs to my apartment with the cat bumping up each step on the way to my apartment. Get into my apartment and the first thing is, where am I going to put this cat? Look around and, well, actually there's a little room in the corner near where the hallway is when you come into the apartment. So I sit her down in that corner facing out and there she sits. Now I mentioned I own a pet sitting business and the woman who I bought my business from, Mary, she had connected me up to another woman named Judy, who also has, like myself, she's a solo pet owner of a pet sitting business specializing in cat care. So Judy and I, over the years, over about 2 years, we would talk every few months and we kept talking about getting together. It somehow never worked. We could never get it together to do that, but we always kept up our phone connection. We would talk shop, we would give referrals to each other, all things cats. So I got a call one day from Mary, who I bought the business from, and she called to tell me that Judy was sick. And of course, this was not good news. And having heard that, I decided, well, okay, this is it. I got to get together. And I called Judy and we talked. And yes, she was pretty sick. And we talked as usual. And then we made a plan to, once she was feeling better, we would get together. 2 days after I had talked with Judy, I got another call from Mary. And this time Mary said, "Bree, Judy is in hospice." Well, this was a complete unexpected. It was such a shock. And that was kind of it. It was just silence. I then got the information of where here in the city the hospice was, so I could make a time to go finally visit her. I make a time to visit her. And as I'm getting ready to leave, I'm heading for the door and I spot the cat sitting in the corner. And I think, oh my God, perfect. I'm going to give Judy the cat. I'm going to bring the cat to Judy. So I pick her up. I'm feeling wonderful about this decision. And I carry the cat down. I put her in the passenger seat. I get in the seat, in the car, I buckle up, and then I hear ding, ding, ding. Oh, the cat is so filled, the passenger seat, it thinks it's a person. I have to buckle up the cat. So I have to get out and buckle up the cat, get back in the car, buckle myself in, and off we go to see Judy. I get there, never been there before. It's a small hospice. It's very loving. As soon as I walk in, it's very calm and loving, a very lovely feeling. Now, when I get there, the hospice worker tells me that Judy has now lost her vision. She's blind. So she leads me to Judy's area. There's a chair next to her bed. As I'm walking toward her, I say, "Hi, Judy, it's Bree," and we welcome each other. I sit down in the chair and I reach my hand out and I put it on her arm. And we just exchange our hellos finally in person. I then reach over and pick up the cat. Now Judy is sitting upright in the bed, right? And I put it facing Judy. I just put it right down in her lap, facing her. And the cat is so big, it almost completely covers her up.
Mm.
Well, as I said, she's blind now, but she reaches out and she puts her hands deep into the almost fur-like material. It's plush and soft, and she's putting her hands and around the cat, and she's feeling its face and whiskers, and oh my God, she doesn't say a word, but I know this is just so wonderful. She has this cat. So we talk, and then I excuse myself for a few minutes. I go to the restroom, I come back, and when I come back, the first thing Judy says to me is, "Bree, I have the perfect name for the cat. I've named her Paradise." Oh, well, it's such a perfect name. And I say that, and me and Judy, we're celebrating this name. It's just wonderful, wonderful name. So I finish my visit. I get up to leave. I say goodbye to Judy. I say goodbye to Paradise. I tell her I will be back very soon, and I leave. 2 days after that visit, I call hospice again to set up another time to come see Judy. And that's when the hospice worker says, "Bree, Judy passed away yesterday." I really don't know how long it was silent on the phone when the hospice person says to me, "And I want you to know that Judy died hugging Paradise in her arms."
Thank you, Bree.
Thank you.
What a sweet story. Hugging Paradise. All right.
Well, I have to thank you and the class, because I hadn't thought of that for really quite some time. And that memory came back as I'm now in a storytelling class. And my memories kicked in, and I started remembering not just that, but many things that had been buried almost. And that was just one of many things that was so wonderful about this class. So you gave me back the story also.
Thanks, Bree. That feels good to hear.
You're welcome.
So much. Well, we have one more story for you tonight. And again, she's a little bit different from everyone else. She may be using some notes to tell the story, but you will get to see her on the screen. She's just getting ready here. All right, please welcome Inga.
Hi, I am sitting like now at my computer trying to write this personal story we are supposed to do. And there's so much around me and so much distraction that I don't know what to do. I have already cleaned up a little bit this afternoon, but it's just too much. And I have already written 2 stories. The one about my great-grandfather who was exiled after World War I, and about another one about my first years in Hamburg in Germany, where we lived at that time. But none of them really mattered so much. They did not fulfill the requirements of the personal story. So I should tell you what this personal story is. The personal story is concerned with you and your feelings. And that already is difficult for me. I am not into feelings and especially not expressing them. And then other requirements are that the story should not exceed 5 to 8 minutes. And on the other hand, it should have lots of details. How do you do that? Then it should have an arc going from the beginning to the end. And
You're doing great.
it should show that there was some development. Some change in the person. And then there are a few others having agency. That means you should be involved in the story. And then at the end, most of you have already had some humorous ending. But that for me is again the difficulty. Because I'm not that humorous. And so one of my friends, and he's actually the son of one of my friends, he says, Inge only smiles when she has to. Thank you. My official status is that I'm married to an American mechanical engineer whose various employments has led us all around the world, me and or us and our 2 daughters, from Italy to Germany to Saudi Arabia to San Francisco to Montana and back to San Francisco, where we have been living now for almost 50 years near the beach. And my husband also went on 2 tours to Afghanistan. But I'm very thankful that the army did not allow me to go too. As you might have heard from my talking, I have a strong accent. I cannot hide that I'm an immigrant. I was born and educated in Germany, and I got my master's degree in architecture there. When I first came to the United States, I tried to erase my accent, and I took accent correction classes, but without any success. Now, it's 50 years later, it's still there. In my studies, graduate studies here in the United States, and then in my professional practice as a city planner, it did not really matter that much that I had an accent. There's only the one case, if you make a public presentation in front of a group of people and one of them doesn't like Germans and tries to bring it out. I have learned in the meantime to ignore that and to just focus on the planning issues, not getting upset about that. About 20 years ago, I retired. I had enough of city planning and the constant bickering and fighting between neighborhood groups and the developers or the merchants. And So that was very nice. I was happy that I got out of there, but I was also, I missed the camaraderie of the people in the planning department and the exchange we had. And I still have friends today from the planning department. We still meet once in a while.
Mhm.
In my retirement, I have had time to pursue my major field of interest, and that is the history of architecture. For many years, I tediously researched the life and work of early women architects here in the Bay Area. I mean, you probably know about Julia Morgan, but then it stops. But I have found enough material for about 50 women architects and did this book about it. And this was not a new thing for me, because in Germany I had already written 2 books about architecture, the Art Nouveau in Brussels and Paris, and about the modern architecture in Berlin, where I studied. I really enjoy this type of work and do not get tired of it. It's wonderful to be your own boss and not have to follow some superimposed deadlines or unknowing stuff from male supervisors, or just, it was just, it's just wonderful. And to learn and to know about these early women architects and their difficult lives, full of successes and also some setbacks, makes me feel at home in the United States, belonging to a group of researchers who bring the forgotten female pioneers to light and allow them to serve as role models for today's aspiring young architects. Thank you.
Great, Inga.
Thank you, Inga.
Thank
All
you.
right. Wonderful. So that was our showcase. Thank you all for your kind attention. I hope you enjoyed the stories. And I certainly enjoyed teaching you all and getting to know you all over the course of our 6 weeks together. Hearts all around. Yes, that was really fun. And thank you to Kathy for helping us organize the whole class. And thank you all audience members. And well, what can I say? That was it. That was it. So I hope that you all go into your lives and come up with wonderful stories to tell and have a story-worthy rest of your year.